Let me start with a number. $26 billion. That's the current size of the tokenized real-world asset market. Every tokenized treasury, every on-chain private credit fund, every tokenized money market product combined right now sits at around $26 billion. It sounds like a lot until you realize it's still less than 1/10 of the percentage of the world's assets. McKinsey says the market hits $2 trillion by 2023 in their base case, 4 trillion in their bull case. So somewhere between here and there, something has to change massively. The question nobody's asking loudly enough is what exactly is blocking that other 99.9%? Because it's not interest. The institutions are interested. BlackRock is in, Fidelity is in, UBS, ANZ, Franklin Templeton, State Street are all in. The Clarity Act just passed the House with 294 votes, and Congress held its most significant tokenization hearing in history just last week. Regulators have published frameworks classifying digital assets, the legal architecture is being built. So if it's not interest and it's not regulation, what's actually stopping the trillions from moving on chain? Well, it's actually three things. And once you understand them, you understand exactly why Chainlink is positioned the way it is. Of course, before we dive into the video, please subscribe for some good luck. Problem 1. The chain fragmentation problem. A tokenized government bond gets issued on Ethereum. A tokenized mutual fund lives on Avalanche. A private credit protocol runs on a bank private blockchain. These assets cannot talk to each other. They cannot be used as a collateral across these systems. They cannot settle against each other without any centralized intermediary stepping in, which defeats the entire point. You have a $26 billion market spread across dozens of isolated networks, each one a silo. Institutions aren't going to commit serious capital to a system where their assets are stranded on whichever chain they're originally issued to. This is exactly what CCIP solves. It's a cross-chain standard that lets tokenized assets move securely across more than 70 blockchain networks, both public and private. And it's not theoretical anymore, since Coinbase made CCIP their exclusive bridge infrastructure for their entire wrapped asset suite, representing around $7 billion in assets. Lido, one of the largest DeFi protocols with over $33 billion in TVL, upgraded to CCIP as the official cross-chain infrastructure for wrapped staked ETH across all chains. Maple Finance put their Syrup USDC on the CCIP cross-chain token standard, and their cross-chain deposits have already crossed $3 billion. When the largest players in DeFi are standardizing around one cross-chain protocol, that protocol and that infrastructure is automatically becoming a default. Problem 2, the trust problem. A tokenized asset is only as trustworthy as the claim behind it. If a fund says it holds $500 million in US treasuries, and those treasuries live on a custodian's vault somewhere off-chain, how does the blockchain know it's actually true? How does a DeFi lending protocol know before accepting it as a collateral? How does a counterparty know before settling a trade against it? Right now, most of the answer is you trust the issuer's word, which is fine for small pilots. It does not work at an institutional scale. This is proof of reserve. Chainlink's proof of reserve feeds connect on-chain protocols to independently verify data about what actually backs a tokenized asset in the real world. It removes a trust assumption and replaces it with verifiable cryptographic truth. And it extends to pricing. Tokenized assets need accurate, manipulation-resistant price data to function in DeFi, for liquidations, collateral valuations, yield calculations, etc. Chainlink's data feeds power over 2,000 price feeds and hold more than 67% of the Oracle market. When Ondo Finance, the largest provider of tokenized treasuries and tokenized stocks, selected Chainlink as their official Oracle infrastructure, it wasn't a partnership announcement. It was a dependency on a product that you just need as a standard again. And then a third, and maybe the more important one, is the compliance problem. This one is maybe the least talked about and probably the hardest to solve. Tokenized securities aren't like crypto-native assets. They carry legal restrictions. Who can hold them, in what jurisdiction, under what conditions, and all of that has to be enforced automatically on-chain at the moment of the transfer. If an institution in Europe transfers to a tokenized US security to a counterparty in a restricted jurisdiction, The smart contract has to catch that every time, and there's no human review. There's also the Basel problem. Current rules apply a 1.225 risk weight to permissionless blockchain assets, meaning banks are effectively unable to participate in public chain tokenization under existing capital requirements. The path forward is compliance baked into the architect itself, not bolted on later. Chainlink's automated compliance engine, or ACE, embeds KYC, AML, and jurisdictional rules directly on the token transfer logic. It already lives with Aave's institutional lending market called Horizon. It powers a real cross-chain settlement between ANZ, China AMC, and Fidelity International. The Bermuda Monetary Authority built their institutional stablecoin supervision framework around it. It's not just a compliance checkbox, it's what makes the public blockchains usable by regulated institutions in the very first place. Without it, you don't get from $26 billion to $4 trillion. You don't even get to $100 billion. Now, let's all tie these together. Chainlink has been working with 24 of the world's largest financial institutions and market infrastructure providers. Swift, DTCC, Euroclear, SIX, UBS, Wellington Management, you name it, on a unified infrastructure for corporate actions processing. UBS completed what Chainlink called the world's first in-production end-to-end tokenized fund workflow using Chainlink's digital transfer agent standard. The US Department of Commerce is publishing macroeconomic data on-chain through Chainlink's data feeds. And Sergey Nazarev was standing next to the president when Trump signed the Genius Act into law. This is the infrastructure that institutions have already standardized around. And of course, the momentum keeps on building. We've talked about it in our last video. Amundi, Europe's largest asset manager with 2.3 trillion euros in AUM, just launched a tokenized mutual fund powered by Chainlink alongside Spyco. Epoch, powered by Chainlink, to launch Treasury Plus, the first institutionally managed tokenized private credit fund operating across 6 global markets. These are live products running on Chainlink's infrastructure right now. So let's come back to that gap. $26 billion today, $4 trillion by 2030. What's gonna close this? Not interest that already exists, not regulations that's being built on right now. What closes this gap is the plumbing. Every $1 trillion that moves from traditional finance on-chain has to pass through data infrastructure, cross-chain infrastructure, and compliance infrastructure. So the McKinsey projection actually already assumes the infrastructure problem gets solved. Chainlink may literally be that variable that determines whether that projection comes true. That's the bet on whether the global financial system migrates on-chain and who builds the rails it runs on. So that's it. Do you agree with the McKinsey projection? And if so, what do you think will fill this gap? My bet is on Chainlink. And yeah, I'll keep following up and keeping you guys updated. I'll see you in the next video, which is going to be next week. And yeah, enjoy your day. Cheers. Bye-bye.